What's up, everybody? Brothers, sisters, psychonauts, and seekers of truth. It is Ananka, and welcome to my bazaar. Today, I have a diphenhydramine trip report for you. The title of this trip report is Exceeded My Expectations, and was submitted to Earwid in 2020 by the user Meatlouse. With all that being said, let our story begin. Just tripped on DPH for the first time. I had tried a few days before, but I didn't think to measure my dose or anything, so I ended up taking not nearly enough to actually have something interesting happen. All that had happened was that I felt very drowsy and had major body load that made me cranky. This time, I did far more research beforehand and decided to go with a moderate/strong dose, 'cause I'm a big dude. To prep, I made a pot of coffee because I had heard that caffeine can counteract the effects of deliriums, so I wanted to have it just in case shit hit the fan and I wanted out of the trip. I didn't need it, turns out, so I don't know if caffeine and DPH have negative interactions. I then also grabbed some cigarettes from my mom to smoke while I was tripping. I measured out about 750 milligrams into a little cough syrup measuring cup and hid it so that I could do it all after my whole house went to sleep. I also drank a fuckload of water beforehand, just to make sure I didn't get any more dehydrated than I needed to be. At about 1 a.m., my family is full of night owls. It was go time. I started off with a 400 milligram dose, just to feel my way around it. It did cause a lot of heartburn, but after this, I definitely think it was worth it. About 10 minutes after my first dose, I started to feel that floaty, euphoric, and early stage of a mushrooms trip feeling, and I was having a really good time. There were stripes across my vision. I was seeing stars, hearing music that sounded like it was playing underwater, and the color saturation in the room went way up and way down in about 5-second interval waves. About 20 minutes in, I felt like I had to piss so bad, but barely anything came out, which is to be expected with DPH, so I wasn't worried. I got up from the toilet to check myself in the mirror, but the reflection felt like an independent person from myself. Looking at the mirror felt like I was looking through a window. I started doing funny movements to see if my reflection would copy me. It did, obviously, and this kind of frustrated me. I got really close to the mirror, and when my reflection moved closer to me, I felt like my private space was being violated. So I told my reflection to back off. I continued to goof off in the mirror, except the reflection wasn't perfectly matching my movements anymore. This didn't freak me out, though. A very big theme in this story is going to be nonchalance toward relatively outlandish and strange phenomenon. About 40 minutes or so later, visuals were getting more vibrant, intense, and structured. It wasn't just twinkly abstract lights. These new hallucinations were very tangible. These new hallucinations included bubbles on my wall that felt like velvet when I tried to touch them. The infamous spiders on the wall and rats scampering across the floor. This didn't bother me because I love spiders and I love rats. So I was very delighted that not only did I get to see them, but that it was proof that the DPH was working. 2 a.m. The shadow guys are here. The first one was tall and slender, and he was constantly swaying. I said hello, and he wobbled. In excitement slash contentment, maybe? And then he melted into the wall, which looked like it was charged with electricity because there was flashing blue mini lightning coming off of it. I started to get a really nasty body load around this time, so I went and smoked a cigarette in the washroom. Cigarettes are great for curing body load, it turns out. Cigarettes also tend to taste like nothing and go down very, very smooth in this state. Upped my dosage to 700 milligrams, and for some reason it looked like my arm had been skinned. But I was the least bit shocked slash worried about it. I just thought it looked neat. I also stared for an embarrassingly long time at a deodorant stick because it was glitching and vibrating, like an item glitching in a video game, and the words on the label were jumping toward me. When I came back into the living room, there were about 5 more shadow people that looked like they were drinking cocktails and mingling with each other. I decided to join in, minus the cocktail. We don't have any alcohol in our house. They were very nice. For some reason, I could strongly sense that they did not have ill intent and would not hurt me for no reason. I was admiring the spider webs that appeared to be growing on the walls like mold when the man in the wide-brimmed hat came to my door. I tried to beckon him to come inside and join our shadow party, but he said he was busy and politely declined my offer. That guy is super cool. I eventually saw Slender Man outside my window watching me, but once again, I didn't bat an eye at him. I believe for that some reason, DPH suppresses my fear rather than enhancing it. At one point, I was staring at a blank TV when suddenly a giant, foot-long black widow spider crawled out from behind the TV and started crawling across the screen. I was, once again, not bothered, but very delighted to see it. Once it got to the edge of the screen, it shrank and turned into a hummingbird, which flew maybe 2 or 3 feet away from the TV and then vanished in thin air. Immediately after the spider, I saw a small black thing moving around in the corner of my eye, and it was a cat. In fact, there was a small box with a sheet on it. This box was a real box in the real world, not a hallucination. And the sheet would undulate, and then out would come a month-old kitten. The shadow people party was still going on, so I was just sitting in the chair in the living room, entertaining myself by watching these imaginary people talk to each other, while kittens weaved between their legs. Half of my brain had been stuck that none of this was actually going on, but it was so pleasant and vivid that I didn't care. I began to come down at around 5 a.m. The body load was back and shittier than ever, and I didn't have a cigarette to control it. Other than this, I was very happy with my trip this time. It was fun, pretty wholesome, and almost relaxing. I felt like I made a few friends, and I was extremely relieved slash proud that I somehow dodged the biggest bullet ever by not having a bad trip. I still had the exact same hallucinations I've seen others describe on their DPH trips. But my reaction was so vastly polar opposite from most people's for a reason that I cannot pinpoint. It was a very, very fun drug, and I would certainly try it again to see if I just got exceptionally lucky this time, or if I just happened to react very pleasantly to DPH. It's very upsetting to know that DPH is absolutely a hidden gem. This trip was absolutely delightful.